Well, hello, folks. This is Jeffrey Darty, your Christian whistleblower. I'm Jeffrey Darty, the Christian whistleblower. As you can see, I am still on the road, but we did want to, I think, at least for now, bring this breaking news update on Mandela and the Antichrist to a close. Let's jump into what we've looked at. We've seen that, and at least in my studied opinion, the word wineskins has disappeared from the King James Bible. I believe it was there. I know it was not in Matthew 9. I had a handwritten note, as you saw in one of our other episodes, that at least in my mind proves conclusively it wasn't there. But it has disappeared from either Luke 5 or Mark 2. I think wineskins was there at some point, and it has disappeared. So I have altered my opinion. And I do believe that there has been some changing of verses within the New Testament. I received an interesting note that said that wineskins is a word that came out after the publication of the King James Version. So to me, that's another indication that the King James Version was altered by having a word that could not possibly have been used, like Jesus, because there was no J. But anyway, that word wineskins being used when it couldn't have been used and now being removed. So we've got a lot of chicanery going on. So it's a good idea to take another look at the New Testament and make sure that we're not being sold a bill of goods. But our biggest focus has been on the lion and the lamb. The lion and the lamb that we all remember, well, it's not there anymore. The lion has been replaced with a wolf. And of course, the symbology of that is very incredible. A lion being symbolic of the Christ, and the wolf being symbolic of Antichrist. And we proved that in our previous studies, and you want to take a look at that. And it also shows from the actual literal rendering of the verse, some big stuff. The wolf is a newcomer. The wolf has no original authority. The wolf is squatting in another's house, and the wolf is stirring up discord. Exactly what the prophet Daniel predicted that the Antichrist would do, specifically through use of the Mandela effect, changing time, changing specific characteristics, changing notable events, and creating diverse timelines. Daniel and the Isaiah prophecies have dovetailed together to bring us this stunning revelation. And of course, where we got the wolf inserting itself amongst the sheep, that carried us right down to Matthew 7:15, which said, "Beware false prophets. They come to you outwardly in sheep's clothing, but inside they are ravenous wolves." A direct tie into that wolf in Isaiah. And then we tied that to Genesis 49:7, where it says Benjamin is a ravenous wolf, tying back to Isaiah, tying back to Matthew. If you Google Benjamite emblem, Benjamite flag, you'll see them. A ravenous wolf, my friends. Yes, truth is stranger than fiction, even in this crazy day and age. And of course, we tied that down to the only mention of Benjamite in the New Testament. The only person that ever claimed that he was a Benjamite also claimed that he was a Pharisee. And we saw that the Pharisees, not once, not twice, but at least 3 times, tried to consume, tried to devour, tried to destroy, tried to do away with Yeshua, the exact same thing that the wolf in Genesis 49, Benjamin is a wolf. In the morning, or at the beginning, he seeks to devour, he seeks to destroy, he seeks to consume, he seeks to do away with a human, a specific human, a prophetic reference to Yeshua himself. And then, of course, this person that said, "I am the only Benjamite in the New Testament, I am a Pharisee," that person was the self-proclaimed, the false apostle Paul. That's right, my friend. And it also mentioned that he was a Herodian, that the Pharisees and the Herodians were working together. Mark 3:6, 2 Herodians talked about in the New Testament. One, the king of the name Herod, and guess what? His nephew, Paul the apostle. The 2 wolves that started the war against Yeshua, Paul emblematic of the first Antichrist in human form. Of course, we did that a few years ago on Coast to Coast AM with my first book, Apostle Paul Antichrist, forward by George Norrie. And I'll be going back on Coast to Coast in just a little while to talk about the Mandela effect and Daniel and Antichrist. So that brings us down to where we have seen that the Mandela effect is really hanging the one that created it. Daniel told us it was Antichrist that created the Mandela effect in effort to keep knowledge from breaking forth, death, knowledge, light, understanding from breaking forth. And yet he pats himself on the back by saying, oh, I've replaced the lion symbology of the Christ with my own imagery of the wolf. He pats himself on the back with that, but yet what it has done has undone him, because we have studied the actual literal meaning of the scripture. We see that the wolf is a newcomer. We see that the wolf has no original authority. We see that the wolf is there squatting in someone else's house. We see that the wolf is there creating disharmony. And we see that it's just exactly like the prophet Daniel said the work of the Antichrist would be. So Daniel makes it clear. That wolf, that new wolf, that new wolf in Isaiah is Antichrist, and his human embodiment, as identified by Yeshua, was the first Antichrist. And we're going to get back into our series this weekend on Jesus is the Antichrist. Let me give you a couple of scriptures to study for the foundation for that. Shaking study, ground shaking. Luke chapter 10, verse number 18, Acts chapter 9, verses 3 through 6. That shows you who the real Antichrist is. Paul was the first human embodiment of Antichrist, but those scriptures will show you who the real spiritual Antichrist is. And we saw in Genesis that in the morning, or at the beginning, the wolf devours, does away with, consumes the human, which was Yeshua. At the end, or at night, he seeks to divide the plunder. And that's what this is all about, folks. Keeping us, feeding them keeping us in a place where we can be plundered, where we can be used, where we can be bought, where we can be paid for, and where we can be driving their agenda. My friends, Daniel wrote these words 3,000 years ago. And as Yeshua said, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. We've brought you truth here in these 3 breaking news updates on Mandela and the Antichrist. And in this Jesus is Antichrist series, in this Daniel Mandela Effect and Antichrist series, that will, that should, that can, and for many of you that are writing to me, that has set you free. That's what we're all about. Guide your own spirit, be your own guru, master your own ascension. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower, wishing you peace, wishing you light, and above all else, my folks, my friends, my sisters, and my brothers, subscribe, like, share, but whatever you do, make sure that you unindoctrinate yourself.